Hi, I'm Anika She, and she talks crime.
Hello?
Guys, I just want to start this podcast off by saying I am so sorry that I've been gone for like 3 weeks. I'm so sorry. The hassle of the holidays was beating me, girl. Like, I was so busy and I didn't want to give y'all like a half done podcast. So I just waited until I felt like I had enough time to really do the research and make a good video and a good podcast that you would want to listen to. But Happy New Year to all my Hershey's, and let's get into our imaginary scenario. We're all used to the idea of artwork, music, and personal projects being leaked on the internet. Like in the case of Ariana Grande's fans, who always seem to have access to her unreleased material, they're constantly leaking her stuff on the internet, and we're all kind of used to it. Or how everybody is desperate for a leak of Rihanna's new album, even though she has put out 672 new Fenty products and she does not seem to be stopping anytime soon. So now, the hypothetical question is that if you had access to one of the most sought after pieces of media, so everybody in the world wants this one thing. So for example, let's say you have the new Rihanna album because you were able to somehow get it online. Would you share that with the world? Would you leak it? Personally, I wouldn't, just because with the advancement of technology and cybercrimes, people are actually being punished for the things that they do on the internet. And I know it would be too easy for them to track it down to me who leaked it. So I wouldn't personally do it. But in September 2022, Arion did exactly that when he leaked 90 videos of the unreleased game GTA 6 and was sentenced to life in a psychiatric hospital. Let's get into the case. Also, disclaimer, if you're watching the YouTube visuals of this podcast, you might see me looking down or at my phone. I actually have written a script for this podcast and I will do that for the rest of them just because it takes me so long to film when I'm just talking freely and trying to make a story impromptu with my notes while on camera. It takes me a very long time, so I've started to write a script that I want to follow. Arion was actually 4 months shy of turning 18 years old when he committed his greatest hack, and this would actually hurt him way more later on. But before then, he was a little boy living at home with his mother and his little brother in Oxford, UK. Now, we're talking about a hacking genius, someone who worked very hard to remove every trace of themselves from the internet, and he did a really good job. Along with having a very private family, there isn't a ton of information about his upbringing, but we do know that he had a complicated and difficult childhood due to his mental health. Arion is severely autistic. Along with that, he has ADHD and, in general, a complex health diagnosis. As a child, he started to see a therapist after his special needs school couldn't handle him anymore. And that should give you an idea of how severe his situation was because the school he was at was designed for children with special needs. The teachers and the people who work there are trained to deal with individuals with autism and developmental delays that other teachers in other schools wouldn't be equipped to handle. So if even they can't control him, that should tell you that the situation was pretty bad. His childhood therapist said that he is, quote, a particularly impaired individual and that he functions at best 1% at the level of his peers. He stopped going to formal school at about 14 years old, so he never finished high school, and they never formally said why, but I would assume it had something to do with his mental struggles. He was even taken into social care for a short period of time because he had physically assaulted his mother, but his stay at social care did not last long because a staff member had actually attacked him while he was there, so his mother said that she would take him back. And I'm sure that is just the tip of the iceberg of what he went through, so that should tell you he had quite a tumultuous childhood. But like any other kid, Arion liked to play games, and like any other kid born in the 2000s, he particularly liked Minecraft, and that's where his hacking career would begin as a child. Everyone that plays video games know that we all have that one game. That one game, that one level, that one challenge, that one final boss that is impossible to beat. So bad to beat that you finally just look up the cheats. Because sometimes, honestly, you just want to play video games to have fun and de stress. I don't want to be stuck on level 16 because I can't figure out one tiny puzzle. We've all looked up cheats before. You've done it, I've done it, and so did Arion. That's how he started. He first started to look up cheats, and that led him to finding out about glitches and then full blown hacking Minecraft for his own fun. That then escalated to actual websites like NASA.gov and many others. As time went on, he only got better and smarter. He enjoyed doing it because it made him feel cool. His adult therapist said that, quote, he doesn't want to be different. He wants to be like everyone else. He wants to be seen as trendy and risky. Hacking gave him street cred. He later would become a team member of the cyber hacking group called Lapsis. Now, if you're anything like me and you're not invested into the internet, crypto world, dark web stuff that's all out there, you probably only know one cyber hacking group, and that's Anonymous. And to be honest with you, Anonymous has done amazing PR for hackers because, at least to me, hacking has a positive connotation because Anonymous is known for being internet vigilantes, playing Robin Hood and hacking really powerful, dangerous, and sometimes even criminals and getting the justice that our judicial system doesn't get for some of its victims. But most cyber hacking groups are not like Anonymous. They hack to steal, blackmail, and extort, like Lapsis, a UK and Brazil based cyber hacking group that is thought to be made up of mainly teens. They're an extortion focused cyber threat group who gained infamy in the last few years after hacking big, well known companies and government agencies around the world in 2021 and 2022. Now, I just told you this group is thought to be made up of mainly teens. So you have to wonder, how are high schoolers able to take down multi-million and billion-dollar companies and corporations? Well, the CISA, which is the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, said that, quote, Lapsus is like any other cyber criminal group, but it was unique for its effectiveness, speed, creativity, and boldness. They also said that they weren't using necessarily a complex or advanced hacking, but they were extremely effective. On the CISA website, they actually have a dedicated PDF for Lapsus and all the information they have on the members and all the crimes that they've committed. And they said that they use con man tricks and hacking to gain access to multinational corporations like Microsoft and the digital banking group Revolut and even Uber. And because they're teenagers, it also shows in their hacking. We all know how teenagers behave. They don't think about their actions before they do them. They are risk takers, and that also shows in the way that they hack because they usually celebrate their crimes and hacks by taunting their victims on Telegram. So that should give you an idea for the kind of cyber group that Arion was not only a part of, but was a key leading member. From 2021 to 2022, every hack got bigger than the last hack, but it would eventually catch up to them. So let's go over some of their hacks. Arion and other members of Lapsus would do SIM swapping with BT/EE customers. Now, BT/EE is the UK's #1 broadband and mobile provider, similar to how we have AT&T and Sprint, but the company is worth billions of dollars. I don't know exactly how much, but BT and EE were two separate companies, and BT bought EE for $19 billion. So if they can buy that for $19 billion, I think it's safe to assume they have a couple billion more. But basically, SIM swapping is when they take control of a customer's phone number to receive all of their messages and calls, and that allows them to gain access to their bank account and their crypto wallets with all of their money in it. One victim had her entire wallet and almost $70,000 of cryptocurrency withdrawn. Another victim had $2,000 stolen from her and got an email a few hours later saying, quote, "Thanks for the peas, bro," which is hacker slang for money. So again, taunting their victims after a successful hack. Another company they hacked was named NVIDIA. Now, NVIDIA designs and sells graphic processing units for games and cryptocurrency mining and professional applications. They even provide chip systems for cars and robotics. This is a huge company and they're worth well over $27 billion. And Arion with Lapsis got into their system and stole very important software and demanded NVIDIA pay ransom for 1 terabyte of the firmware that they stole. I don't know if y'all know how big 1 terabyte is, but you know how you have those memory cards and they have 25 gigabytes, 256 gigabytes, or even like your phone, like the biggest iPhone has like 512 gigabytes. A terabyte is even bigger than all of that. So they stole a lot of software and were expecting a big payout for it. For the finance app Revolut, Arion tried to steal 74,000 customer records just so he could sell it on the black market. And when he hacked Uber, he kept sending them taunting messages to the point that the Uber app was temporarily shut down and they lost $2.8 million because of it. With all this hacking, stealing, blackmailing that they're doing, I feel like you would assume that they're raking in money because they're doing this to multi-billion-dollar corporations. But we don't actually know how much money Lapsus has made because obviously they aren't going to tell us. And the companies aren't disclosing either, I guess, for fear of embarrassment, or they just won't say. But like I said, all of these hacks caught up to them, and Arion was actually arrested for the BTEE and NVIDIA hacks, but he was out on bail. And being a part of the hacking community, it is very, very easy to gain enemies, and a lot of people did not like Arion. The hacking community actually had outed his identity, and they were sending him threats daily with videos and pictures of his house threatening to harm him and his family. So Arion felt like he would be safer on bail staying at a hotel nearby that was being guarded by police officers. While on bail, awaiting sentencing for the BTEE and NVIDIA hacks, Arion would commit his biggest hack yet of Rockstar Games, the owners of Grand Theft Auto. Now, if you don't play Grand Theft Auto and you don't really know what it is, it's basically an action adventure game where you complete a bunch of missions so that you can progress in an overall story. It's a bit of a graphic game with shooting, drive-bys, robberies, prostitution, and violence. So, obviously, a lot of men really enjoy this game. The game is extremely popular and so popular that a new version of it comes out every couple of years. And right now, players are awaiting the highly anticipated GTA 6, which has been in the works since 2014 and is being set to release in 2025. Now, GTA 6 is the most anticipated game release of all time, with the trailer gaining 60 million views in less than 24 hours after it was posted. So, with a game this popular and this anticipated, Rockstar Games, the owners, obviously want the rollout and release to go perfectly, but they were not anticipating what a teenager like Arion could do. While awaiting his sentencing and on bail, Arion's laptop was confiscated. So, in his hotel room that is being guarded by police officers, he only has an iPhone 13 Pro Max, an Amazon FireStick, a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, and the hotel TV that was provided for him. He was able to hack into Rockstar Games and obtain 90 clips of GTA 6. And you wouldn't even believe the way that he did it. He pretended to be a contractor or an employee who simply forgot their password. That's it. Like, I'm sure if you gave me those same equipment, an iPhone, a keyboard, an Amazon Fire Stick, I probably wouldn't even be able to hack into my own accounts. But the simplicity of the hack is basically a click forgot password, and that's how he was able to get in. Once he had stolen the clips, he was also able to hack into Rockstar's internal messaging system, which is Slack. And I'm sure many of you have heard of that because even I've used Slack at my old jobs. But yes, he hacked into Slack and he wrote, quote, "If Rockstar does not contact me on Telegram within 24 hours, I will start releasing the source code," end quote. Now, again, I told y'all I'm not very computer coding knowledgeable, but after researching, the definition that made the most sense to me is that a source code is basically the instructions that programmers make using computer programming languages to make a website. It's basically the foundation to any website. It's like the instruction manuals to build furniture. You could build furniture. You know how IKEA has 3 billion little screws and stuff? A lot of it sure could be common sense, but eventually you are going to have to look at those instructions or that table is not going to be right. So basically, Arion is threatening to give out their instruction manual. And as big of a game as GTA is, it still has many competitors. So sharing something like their source code could be very damaging to not only the security of the game, but also the value. If other games and competitors know the information, they can easily just copy it. But Rockstar knows that there is no negotiating with blackmailers, so they banned him from the Slack and they contacted the FBI. Arion did not give them the 24 hours that he promised. He shortly after that uploaded all 90 clips to a GTA forum under the username, quote, Teapot Uber Hacker, end quote. Which again is just like a teenager to incriminate yourself while boasting because now they know for sure this is the same person who hacked Uber. And once these clips were posted, just like everything else you desperately don't want on the internet, they spread like wildfire. It was everywhere, girl. And gamers all over were in disbelief. They didn't even believe that this was the real GTA 6 leaks they were looking at. A lot of people thought it was AI. But Rockstar Games quickly went into action, sending out tons of copyrights to try to get the video down. But we already know how the internet works, girl. Once it's up forever. So it wasn't much that they could do. People had already seen it. And now the FBI had already wanted Arion for the Uber hacks. And that makes sense because although these are UK and Brazil based hackings, Uber is an American company and the FBI is an American agency. So it makes sense that when Rockstar Games is now added to this another American company, you should already know that the FBI was coming for him. And 4 days later at 9 p.m., they got him at his hotel and arrested him again. And this time he had no bail. The trial lasted about 6 weeks, but Arion actually wasn't a part of trial because his doctors deemed that he was mentally unfit because of his severe autism. So the jury had to determine if he committed the alleged acts regardless of criminal intent. So if you're deemed unfit for trial because of your mental status, you don't get off scot-free. A lot of times people will joke about how, oh, if they get caught doing something, they'll just act crazy because they think they'll get out of it and won't have to face any jail time. But being mentally unfit only helps you eliminate intent from a crime most times. Some people with mental issues don't understand the gravity of what they're doing, or they can't empathize enough to know that what they're doing is wrong. So they don't really have the intent to commit the crime, but still there are consequences for committing a crime. The mental health assessment that they used on Arion said that he, quote, continues to express the intent to return to cybercrime as soon as possible. He is highly motivated, end quote. The court had also heard that while in custody, he was being extremely violent with dozens of reports of injuries and property damage. He was facing 12 counts, including blackmail, fraud, and hacking, and I'm sure that, along with the mountain of evidence, made it easy for the jury to find him guilty. Now, as a side tangent, he was actually on trial with another member of Lapsis, but he was 17 years old and he remains unidentified because of his age. And I'm sure Arion wished he was 17 instead of 18 because that 17-year-old boy was found guilty on 3 of the charges and only got 18 months of youth rehab community service and a ban from using VPNs. And also, a side note to that side note, that 17-year-old was also sentenced for the quote, unpleasant and frightening pattern of stalking and harassment of two young women. And I feel like that puts into perspective how scary and serious a crime like hacking is, because we're only thinking about it and talking about it from the perspective of hacking companies and corporations and gaining money. But people with this much computer knowledge and capabilities could use it to hack everyday regular folks and know every place that they're going and see all of their pictures and text messages and stalk them virtually and in real life, which is really scary. But back to Arion. His lawyers tried to argue that there wasn't strong enough evidence to prove that Arion had actually hacked these companies or these people himself, because you could have a phone that's linked to all of these hacks and is owned by Arion, and you could have an IP address that is linked to all the hackings and linked to Arion, and you could have usernames and messages that are linked to Arion, but his lawyers are saying that you could never prove he was the person sitting there on the phone physically doing the hacking without visual proof. It's the same way that someone could text something from your phone, but you'll never know it's them texting you or someone else. But honestly, that is just such a far-fetched defense, because the likelihood of all of these things linking this one person to a crime and it not being them is very low. His lawyers also tried to argue that the success of GTA 6 wasn't deterred because the trailer still did amazingly well, pulling in over 128 million views in less than 4 days. They said that Arion didn't cause any serious harm to the game developers and that that should be factored in to his sentencing. They're basically saying that whether or not it was leaked, gamers are still going to buy GTA 6 because a leak and a trailer will never give them the full experience of playing the game. So they're arguing that Arion didn't really hurt anyone. But Rockstar Games said that this hack actually cost them $5 million in not only legal fees and IT fees, but also their employees' man hours. The judge for this trial said that his skills and desire to commit cybercrime meant that he remained a high risk to the public, and that the real harm was done to the individual victims and companies that he had hacked before the huge multi-million dollar companies. Arion was sentenced to an indefinite stay at a secure hospital until doctors deemed him not dangerous anymore. Now, a secure hospital is a residential treatment center where they provide psychiatric care, and the main focus is to rehabilitate and release offenders back to the public reformed. They're much less harsh than regular prisons, and many of them take people that are a danger to themselves and to others due to their mental illness. At the end of trial, Arion's lawyer said, quote, "Despite the outcome of the jury's decision, which may be subject to an appeal, we hope this case will shine a light on the way that vulnerable individuals with severe neurodevelopmental disorders interface with police and the criminal justice system." And I think this really highlights the nuance of this case, because we have a teenager who committed a serious crime, but he also has severe autism. Arion is being held at Feltham Young Offenders Institute, and doctors say that he is very distressed. He throws pee at the staff and he is constantly destroying property. He will most likely stay there for the rest of his life because he has to stay until he gets quote unquote better. But what I don't understand is what's better for somebody who has autism. He has autism and he will have that for the rest of his life. Now, I don't think that he should be exempt from consequences, but I do think that his autism should be factored into the kind of punishments that he receives. A common trait that a lot of people with autism have is having a special interest. A special interest is an intense, highly focused subject that can change over time or be a lifelong interest. People with autism typically become very knowledgeable on that subject, consuming tons of information on it, and usually it becomes a strength for them. Now, I'm sure you have seen a ton of autistic people with a special interest, and it's usually something cool and quirky that they just genuinely like to do. Like, there's a little boy on TikTok whose username is Little Einstein. He can write any font by hand from memory. Or there are other little children that I've seen who can name every star in the galaxy or every dinosaur that has ever lived just because it's their special interest. And I'm not a doctor, but I feel like it seems like Arion's special interest is hacking. And something like a special interest is something that is entwined in who that person is. So I feel like it's a bit unfair to say he has to stay here forever until he stops, because he most likely will never stop liking computers, hacking, coding, things like that. I think the real problem is his motive, not his skills. He was hacking for blackmail, for money, to extort people, but regardless, it is still a highly valuable skill. And if redirected for positive use, he could do a really good thing. He could make a positive change. I'm not saying to reward him for his crimes, of course, but I think rehabilitating him should include using his skills to help people rather than to harm. I'm sure his knowledge could enhance the cybersecurity of many of the companies that he hacked. Because honestly, the reason why I picked this case is because I got caught by one of those Instagram headlines where it literally just said, teenage boy given life for hacking GTA. And my first thought, honestly, was, why didn't they hire him so that he could protect them from other hackers? Because this is a teenage boy. If he could get into your system that easily, what are the more experienced hackers waiting for? He could do that, or he could open his own cybersecurity company, or he could even help law enforcement with cyber crimes. There's so much that he could be doing. And I just feel morally conflicted about an autistic person being put away for life for a non-violent crime. You all may feel different, and please feel free to comment, share your thoughts on the YouTube page, or you could write us on Instagram. But I just feel bad about it that he has to stay there indefinitely or until they deem he's better. I don't know. But the rest of Lapsis remains unidentified. They only ever caught Arion and the 17-year-old. They were the first convictions from the group. So I don't know what the future holds for Lapsis. Please don't hack me. I'm just reading from the articles that I read. But that was today's case, you guys. And like always, all of the articles that I reference are in the description box. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
Hello?